the key thing is developing someone, if I became sheriff, to take my place. That's the first thing that I need to be doing if I became sheriff. Who's out there that's got the qualities, that got the confidence that people's gonna believe in, and that's the person that I need to be mentoring to take my place.
And it's funny you say that because some people, that's in leadership role, they are threatened by that young whippersnapper. When they see them great signs in that person and everybody gravitate toward them, they kind of threatened by that. But that's part of being a finisher and being a winner, being confident in who you are. Understanding that what's for Milton is for Milton, correct?
That's correct. You wanna grow people around you because that makes the whole environment better. That makes the organization better. You want to be able to be able to walk away and know while you're sleeping at night, people are doing the right things. They're making the right decisions, and it'd be just like you were there making those decisions. And that's always been my philosophy. From a law enforcement standpoint and from a military standpoint. You got to grow people around you in order to be able to be successful.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your host, William Robinson, coming at you live today from the studios of TLC, Talk, Love, and Communication. Today we have a special guest, Mr. Milton Busby Jr. He's going to share some wisdom, knowledge, and input into our life, into our community, ladies and gentlemen. This is a young man of integrity, trust, truth, and family. He's running for the Marion County Sheriff Department this election. And we want him to share with us why we should vote for Milton Busby Jr. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to give my guests a special round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Okay then, Mr. Busby, how you doing there? You want to tell my audience a little bit about yourself, sir?
Good morning. How you doing today?
All right, sir. We're doing all right. How was your ride over, sir?
It was a good ride. It's good to see the county, see this part of the country.
Yeah, this the far end, huh?
It is.
That's right, sir. So you want to tell my audience a little bit about yourself, sir?
Well, my name is Milton Busby Jr., one of three Milton Busbys here. I was born in Ocala, Marion County. At that time, it was Monroe Hospital. The name changed a couple times since then. I grew up on the west side of Ocala, went to those schools that were located on that side of town. Eventually, Howard, Middle, Vanguard. Let me back up. I went to Miss McCormick for kindergarten, and I met a lot of my lifelong friends that went to kindergarten with me at Miss McCormick. They're still friends with me today. I eventually went to Madison Street, Howard Elementary, and went to Howard Middle, and then on to Vanguard. Subsequently, I went to the University of Florida, played football there for 1 year. Got a job with the Highway Patrol and transferred to University of Central Florida, where I got my bachelor's degree.
That's great. You have a total of 4 degrees, correct, sir?
Yes, sir. I got other degrees. Currently hold a master's degree in management, a degree in public administration, master's degree in criminal justice, and a master's in strategic leadership of strategic operation. I got that master's from the Army, and I have a PhD in education.
Speaking of the Army, did you join? So you went to college first, and you joined after college, sir?
No, I actually joined the Army before I I graduated high school. I joined at 17 years old. The irony, if anyone looked at my military record, it would say no high school diploma. And the reason why it says no high school diploma, because I did not have a high school diploma when I joined the Army.
Wow.
And so that was, when I read that, I said, no high school diploma. That's strange.
Yeah.
But I figured that out later on.
Right.
The Army Reserves, 17, 351st Military Police Company in Ocala, where I was exposed to military police operations, exposed to a lot of great people. I learned a lot from Vietnam vets that explained to me a lot of good things and explained to me how the world actually operates.
Mm-hmm.
And the information I got from them was priceless in terms of my career development and in terms of my mentoring of soldiers later on when I became an officer.
You know, I noticed when you spoke of your masters and your degrees and everything, you spoke of management. You know, and that's so important. You know, running for sheriff here in Marion County, to be able to manage the officers and be able to be very structured in your everyday operations. You believe in that, sir?
Absolutely. The management degree, and I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but what it actually gave me was the ability to dissect an organization, look for the strengths, look for the weaknesses, mm-hmm. and look to build on improvements. And so I take that point at everything that I do, including the sheriff's office, including I have my own business. You know, what you do to fix shortfalls, what you do to improve things to make sure that you're functioning in the best of your ability. Right.
And, there's so many aspects to, the job that you're applying for, and let's take it back to the childhood. What was it like growing up in Marion County, and how is it so important to you to be running for sheriff here in the county that you was born and raised in, sir?
Well, first off, I'm gonna go back to when I was in my early 20s, maybe 22, 23. I met the sheriff, Don Moreland, and one of the things that I mentioned to him when I met him, he didn't know me from anyone else, and I believe I was in a military capacity at the time that I mm-hmm. met him. And I told Don Moreland, I said, I'm gonna take your job one day. And so, here I am 40 plus years later looking to take his job. Unfortunately, Don Moreland's not the sheriff, but we got Billy Woods the sheriff, and I'm gonna go after Billy Woods' job instead.
And running for sheriff, why? Why now? Why at this point in your career, sir?
At this point, I can do it. I have no hidden agendas. My duty is to take care of the people and the community first. Mm-hmm. And from that aspect, I see some things that I personally have problems with. I see some issues that I feel that I can work and do a little bit better. And in the grand scheme of things, it's just basically making sure that you're doing what you can to take care of the community and ensure that you're working hand in hand with the community.
And for my audience, what are some of the steps that you foresee taking place to make those changes, sir?
Well, I've already indicated I got a terminal degree, and I've also taught, at the university level. The key point is a report card. Mm-hmm. Currently, right now, all I promise folks is that Billy Woods will be opposed in 2024. 12 years unopposed to me is unacceptable.
That's correct.
And so from that aspect, that's what I'm gonna bring to the table, address that. Now, going back to your question, one of the first things that I will do becoming sheriff is go back to a report card. And when you say, well, how do you do that? Mm-hmm. Well, that's through a community advisory committee. I want to meet with the community on a regular basis to make sure that they look at me eye to eye and they say, Buzz, you're doing a great job. Or Buzz, you're not doing a great job. Right. And so from that, I will take their talking points and I will implement policy changes immediately based on that input. If it's fiscal, if it's fiscal possible for me, because sometimes people may come to you and you just have to tell them that's not possible. It's not possible. But if it is possible, you're making an immediate change to what you need to do in order to fix their problems. And
one of the key points is the officers in the sheriff department is here for the people.
Yes, sir.
You are to serve and protect and to police the community. Sometimes we have and like you say, relationship. I personally know a few of your family members, your brothers, and they're upstanding men, and they have outstanding relationships with me to this day. And I met them as a young man, and like I say, for 20 years, I was incarcerated for 18 years, rather, and to see them and to bump into them, it's just like nothing, no time has lapsed. And that's relationship and bonding and forming relationships. How important is relationships and the correct communication, sir, in any situation?
And you make a great note on that. I can go back to my days when I was young in age, maybe about 6 years old. Mm-hmm. My brother Donovan, he's 5. My other brother Marvin, he's 4. So we're a year apart. My grandmother, Maggie Rackett, lived directly across the street from the sheriff's office. Mm-hmm. My Uncle Ozell lived next to my grandma, Maggie Rackett. My grandma Catherine lived next to my Uncle Ozell. Mm-hmm. So all 3 houses were right together. That was the community that I grew up in.
Right.
And talking about the relationship piece, I can remember deputies going back and forth. We were playing in the street, me and my brothers playing in the street. And I asked my brother Donovan, I said, do you remember deputies stopping and talking to us, while we played in the street, or any time that we were there at our, at our grandma's house? And let me explain, we lived with our grandma mm-hmm. during that time period. It wasn't a visit. We lived there. And my brother said, no, I don't remember the deputies talking to us. And I said, I'm the same way, but I do remember the people that were incarcerated talking to us. They would talk to us. Mm-hmm. And so from a relationship standpoint, that's one of the things that I feel I would need to correct, is make sure that kids understand that the deputies in this county, and not saying it's not the case and it's not happening, but we have to do more of that to be exposed to the community and to help the community, to make sure that families understand that person is there to help them, to assist them. And that's one of the things that I feel is a top priority, is gaining that relationship and making it a lot stronger.
In life perspective, how do you perceive situations? And sometimes certain people have their own perception of the police officer. And like you say, sir, with officers joining in and stopping and throwing the football with the kids, shooting a little basketball with the kids, stopping and talking to them, asking them how was his day, plays a big role. I myself noticed that officers that are into the school systems now, they have a different type of relationship with the kids. The kids is more willing to come up to them and talk to them, and that officer is able to be a greater influence in those children's life, and we're trying to build a future. We're trying to build a community. So we want you, once you become sheriff, we're speaking this thing into existence here. You can implement. Is that one of the policies that you can implement? You was talking earlier about things that are possible and things that are not possible. Is that something that you could put into place, sir?
I think the school model is an excellent example that we can and template that we can go and we can actually follow. You have to take advantage of those contact moments where the parents, and back in the day we're talking about, the parents can call the coach, and the coach was probably one of the local patrol officers that worked that area, and say, hey, Johnny's, gotten in some trouble. Well, the coach / patrol officer goes there and he looks at the situation and he helps assist in correcting that situation. So we're intervening in something that could be a problem developing in the long run. That intervention is very important. I use coach, but on a personal standpoint, I feel in my priorities, and I put my priorities out there: children, elderly, mental health, and vets. I'm willing to take money out of my own pocket in order to facilitate those particular individual items. I have to go with what my mind tells me to go with, but those are my set priorities.
You spoke of, the children, the vets, the mental health, and, the mental health aspect in law enforcement. That's something that we as a country can improve and expound upon. Sir, can you give us some insight on your outlook on that, sir?
Historically, and not talking specifically Marion County, but I talk from an academic standpoint. You have a lot of issues and incidents that the jails are being used for mental health reasons. You have for people that have some issues with mental health, and the first thing we do is we incarcerate them. And what that ended up doing, that's costing the taxpayers dollars. I'm talking significant amount of dollars, because you have to medicate, you have to do all those things to protect, to ensure that they're being given the care that they need to be given. But that's not the mission of the jail. It's to lock up criminals, people that's bad. People are doing things that are totally unacceptable.
Right.
Now, not saying that you don't have that issue where all this is meshed together, but from a diversion standpoint, we have to do a little bit better job at diverting people with those mental health issues to the areas and to those programs that will help them specifically, versus putting them in a jail, having someone have to take care of them in the jail instead of taking care of somebody that really needs to be in the jail from committing some type of crime. Yes, sir.
And and that's so important. When the officers encounter a situation, the main goal is to serve and protect, and to make it home to their family, because officers are human beings also. But the skill sets to be able to identify, hey, this may be a mental health issue. This person may be going through something mental. That's not a person that's being outrageous or whatever. So, is there certain things that can be put into place? Or maybe they have policies now that, that can bring a mental health expert onto the scene, rather than the police dealing with it, to a certain level. Is that possible? Is that something that's already in place, sir?
I think you're going in the right direction. One of the things that we all need to do is look at those programs that other agencies are using and are benefiting from. I've read some information here recently that you have a Florida agency, and I won't call the name, where they have mental health abilities within the patrol car. May not be every patrol car, but it's within a patrol car. And having that mental health ability in that patrol car, not saying the deputy or the police officer, but an expert that is trained to do mental health within that framework, and then being able to bring them on the scene and then channel that person, if it's a mental health issue, to the right place and with the getting the right care.
Kind of like the mediator.
Yes,
to bridge the gap. To be able to identify, but like you say, and maybe certain once you become sheriff, so you can make it where the officers maybe take some type of course so they can take a mental, understand, to be able to determine the factors, but that's something that moving forward, that the community is very important. Mental health is a serious issue. And sometimes we go through tragics in our life and we just going through a time frame or that it caused us to be a little depressed and everything, so sometimes just a listening ear. And that goes back to the relationships, correct?
That's correct.
And your perception of the law enforcement as a whole.
You hit the nail on the head. Training is always going to be key to understanding exactly what you're dealing with, because you got a lot of great law enforcement officers out there working. They're doing their due diligence in terms of doing their jobs and trying to get home safely. But you always got an unknown factor, and it's good to go back and have that additional training. But like I said, not trying to make officers, deputies, experts, but being able to pick up on certain cues. And I do believe I saw something the other day where the FDLE is actually teaching a course on mental health issues. And so we, from a law enforcement standpoint, are starting to take those things very seriously in terms of making sure that we can identify those things early on and get folks pointed in the right direction, in the right channel.
So from Vanguard High School at 17 years old, you joined the reserve.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you also was a state trooper for 32 years also, correct?
That's correct, sir.
And your last 10 years, you was a sergeant of the
motorcycle squad.
The motorcycle squad. Mm-hmm. Expound on that, sir. What was your experience, and how have those experiences helped you to become the man that you are today, and basically to prepare you to be a great sheriff for Marion County?
Well, the 32 years in law enforcement gives me that foundation, understanding exactly what goes on at ground level. Mm-hmm. A lot of times folks, they get promoted very quickly. They end up missing out on certain things. Truthfully, the ground roots problems that take place, for the individuals is actually working the road. Mm-hmm. And you want to make sure that you're sensitive and understand those problems that can be encountered. From my aspect, I was the senior sergeant, senior motorcycle sergeant for the patrol, and I was actually the training officer for IPTM, where I actually trained police officers and deputies and folks from all over the world to train their agency on how to ride a motorcycle safely. So got a lot of exposure worldwide from IPTM, the international standpoint in terms of understanding how policing, sheriff duties work, all of those particular things, work in different places. And I was a magnet in terms of picking up and understanding and comprehending and giving dialogue with these individuals. When you talk to different law enforcement agencies from all over the world and start asking them about problems, asking them about solutions. We all learn from those particular situations. And that's what it was all about. It's all about learning at the end of the day.
And it goes back to this word relationship, communication, and I believe that skill set, sir, will make you an excellent candidate to be sheriff here in Marion County, because I believe that you and your family, you're also tied to this community. It means something to you. You are a finisher. Once you start something, you like to finish, so that's something that we can count on and believe that once you set out to achieve this goal, becoming the greatest sheriff, and you also will become the first Afro-American sheriff in Marion County also, correct, sir?
Yes, sir. That would be the case, elected official. Yes, sir. The going back to, the finishing, and I learned this in the military. I guess my mental attitude changed after Desert Storm. One of the things that when I came back to the patrol, my sergeant, he was a crew chief in the National Guard. He flew helicopters, and he said, Buzz, you're different. For coming from that desert, you're a little bit different. And I looked at him and I said, that part of the world made you get serious about what's going on, life. And serious about life, and not wasting time, and going back to what you talked about, starting something and not finishing it is, in my opinion, kind of wasting time. Mm-hmm. So make sure when you start it, you got your end game already planned out for what you want to do when you get done. And my end game is, I want to be sheriff, and I think you already talked to my brother Donovan. He said, I don't like to lose, and no, I don't like to lose. But at the end of the day, it's not left up to me. It's left up to the people of Marion County to make the decision. My win and loss is that I've already won because I'm on the ballot, and I'm already only thing I promised folks, Billy Woods will be opposed. When they get into that ballot box and they make a decision on who they want, that's up to them. It's not up to nobody but them.
We talk about winning and losing, and you say it's not up to you; it's up to the people of Marion County. And with that being said, you are running Republican, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Do you want to carefully in details explain to my audience why you're running Republican and not Democrat? Explain to them the numbers and the system and how this election is ran, as far as the Democrats can only vote Democrat and the Republicans can only vote Republican.
Well, not trying to insult people, but from a quick civic standpoint, in the primaries, it's pretty simple. You can only vote for whatever party that you're affiliated with. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if I was Republican and in the primaries you had a Democrat that was running, I would not be able to see that Democrat candidate name. It's impossible. Only names I can see will be names of Republicans. Mm-hmm. If you're a Democrat, the only names you will see in the primary are names of Democrats. Mm-hmm. Now, in the general election, you can see everybody. At that point, you can make a determination on who the best man or woman for the job. Now, the case for me and Sheriff Woods, we're going to be defined in the primary in August. It won't be November for us. People have to come out and vote in August. And the only people that will see me on the ballot will be Republicans. Mm-hmm. Now, at the end of the day, my mom, my dad, my sister, brothers, they've all shifted their party affiliation to Republicans because apparently they feel that I'm worth that. And at the end of the day, that's what folks have to do. They have to feel if this person is the best person for the job, or if they want to keep Billy Woods, vote for Billy Woods. You know,
sometimes we as people, we say I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, and don't really know why. We just say I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, and we just vote for who's ever on the ballot, not knowing the details behind it. Like you say, that's a great promise that you gave us. You made a statement that, I read a statement that you said to the local newspaper. And that statement was that you want us in Marion County, you want to offer the people in Marion County something different. We should always have alternatives. So basically, if a man running for office and there's no one to oppose him, it's like being the champ without having a fight. It's you take pride in the victory. So, and that's something that we appreciate you. I personally appreciate you for standing up and, giving us an opportunity to choose rather than someone just being placed in that position. I myself, I've never met Mr. Woods. I don't have a problem with the local law enforcement at all whatsoever. But things can be different. Things can be upgraded. And, and sometimes throughout this procedure with me knowing I was going to interview you, I kind of spread the word a little bit. And, and people expressed some concerns to me as far as things that they would like to see improved. And one of them was, why the officers don't stop. Same thing you was wondering as a kid. I live right across the road from the sheriff department, but the officer never said anything to us. Why? So, and it's about relationships. So if you start early with these kids and we show the kids that and change their perspective of the officers, they will grow up to be men that would respect the officer, and we will have more officers of integrity by officers leading by example. You believe in that, sir?
I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely. The key thing is that the police officers, deputy sheriffs exist to support the community. And we need to make sure that with our kids, they understand that we're there to help. And it's a lot of hardworking deputies out there that's doing the right thing and making sure the word is getting out. But I think, in the grand scheme of things, we can always do a little bit better. Work a little bit harder at gaining that interaction between us and the community. It's got to be greater transparency. Mm-hmm. It's got to be, here's the word, and I'm going to say it. It's got to be trust. Trust. And if you don't have that, then you got a problem. And I'm going to use this for an example. Mm-hmm. I had a person call me up that worked for the Highway Patrol one night that two of my troopers had stopped her cousin and not getting into details in their interaction, they did some things and said some things that, in my opinion, violated policy of the Highway Patrol. So I asked her one question. I said, do you need me to pull an investigation number, which would be a D number, open up an investigation on this? And her response was, no, I want you to handle it. And the reason why she told me she wanted me to handle it is because she knew that I was going to handle it. And so it was fixed.
She trusts you.
She trusts me to do what needed to be done and not give her mouth service.
And it goes back to relationships. She trusted you as an individual, not you as a department.
Yes.
And when and if you become elected sheriff, you is at the head. When we think of Marion County, we see you, the man, Milton Busby Jr. And when we trust and believe in you, we'll trust and believe in everything that falls under you. And and the authority that you will be given in that position, everyone falls under you. You're accountable for everyone, just as that young lady or whoever it was reached out to you because of your officers. It was because of they fell under your authority.
That's correct.
And it's so important to have like-minded people. And you can't, you're going to have bad apples in every bunch. You're going to have good apples in every bunch. But the key is to weed out the bad apples and be stern and strict. I understand that, a lot of times in law enforcement is all for one. It's everybody on one team no matter what. But, we have to have integrity. If I'm an officer and you're an officer and you're wrong, I may not correct you in front of that civilian, but that doesn't mean I can't correct you. I need to let you know that, hey, I stand for what's right. At this point in my life, it's not about mom or dad, brother or sister. It's about right and wrong.
Correct.
And
Correct.
Right and wrong trumps family, friends, community. So it's about what's right. We must do what's right in all situations. And that's called integrity. What are you going to do when no one's looking? How important is integrity in the position you're applying for, sir?
Well, you kind of summed up what I need to state on that. It's the highest, priority when it comes down to running an organization. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is that, you get someone in an important position like sheriff. Mm-hmm. They need to understand, everybody needs to understand that this gentleman is going to run the organization based on the priorities that he or she has set. You're going to run it based on the policies that's established, and you're going to do the right thing for the right reason, right. Not because it looks good, it sounds good, but for the right reason. And at the end of the day, I've always, and you made the comment about family. I had a litmus test, and in my 30 plus years of being a cop, it always worked out. Would my mom stand for this? Would my dad stand for this? Would my aunt stand for this? Now, if all three of them say, yeah, I stand for it, then at that point I went with it, and I haven't had a problem so far right. using that as a litmus test for a decision. And
when we talk about integrity, it's another word. I always say this is my word of the year, and it's accountability. In the world today, no one wants to be held accountable. I'm an adult. I can do as I choose, and who are you to tell me any different? And no one wants to hold no one accountable. We must hold people accountable, especially for the good and the bad. And that's the reason why you see me out on the trail, sir. I interview kids. I sit down with people like yourself, because to me, I look at this as using my platform to help build you, to edify you, someone that's doing something positive. So it's like being accountable for your good, for your willingness to be a positive person in our community. I welcome you into this platform with open arms. You understand what I'm saying?
I really do.
And when people step outside of the guidelines, we must hold them accountable also, no matter who it is. You know what I mean? It goes back to accountability, integrity, trust. All these things go hand in hand. You agree with that, sir?
I agree with that. And one of the things that I constantly always look at is that it's always a self-check. You got to always be self-checking yourself to make sure that you're doing the right thing at the right time. And I can go back and look at, decisions that's been made in the sheriff's office. And I even use this example. You had the bus that was turned over, and you had that's 8 folks that were killed. Mm-hmm. Well, and not saying that this is not the case, I would look at that situation. Is it anything that I could have did more to prevent that?
Right.
That would have been something that I would have looked at in terms of being sheriff's office. Is it anything I could do to prevent something like this happening in the future? It's always, key things that you have to look at because of the events, and you got preactive patrols. You got things where your folks could have been dedicated, actually doing work or working calls at that time, and it may have been I could have had some kind of safety, preventive traffic control units out, doing work. It'd be something that I would have been thinking about in terms of making sure that I was proactive in terms of my thought, or even better, bringing my staff in and talking with them and asking them the same question: what can we do to prevent this from happening again?
And it's certain roads and highways and certain things that we find more accidents do happen on. And I'm quite sure you have to get with the city council and all these things to take proactive measures, to be able to prevent, go in prevention mode. I interviewed Mr. Albert Day Sr. A few months back when he was running for election. I learned a lot about, the average citizen do not understand a lot of things that we have access to, and as a sheriff, it's important to educate your community, to give them understanding. So when it's things they don't understand, a lot of the frustration that we may have can go away if you have an understanding of why this take place. So understanding is just as important as everything else you stand for, correct, sir?
And you hit a key point: understanding. The driver that struck the bus was impaired, and one of the things that the sheriff made a key note on, he said that that wasn't his first time driving while impaired. It was just that's the time you get caught. And I was like, hey, thumbs up. He's spot on that. That's absolutely correct. But this is the other piece. The community knew somewhere, sometime, that he was driving, but the community did not provide that information back to the law enforcement piece that could have took action to maybe, prevent it, something like this from happening. And it goes back to what you just talked about, that relationship, gaining that relationship, making sure you codify it and you make it tight. So when you get calls coming in that this guy's driving and I don't know if the gentleman didn't have any driver's license, but sound like to me, based on what I heard, and I think the sheriff concurred, it's hard to believe that he had a valid driver's license. Right. So, that's kind of where we sit on that.
Certain things are unpreventable. You could take all the measure in the world. If someone decides to drink and get behind the wheel, we have no telling how many people in this county. You can't prevent it totally. You understand what I'm saying?
That's
because
correct.
that's a one-on-one decision. And and as a community, you can't hold a sheriff responsible for one man decision. It goes back to accountability. But what we can do is, and that's sometimes the problem. One man goes out and drives drunk, he kills 8 people, a new law come into place that's very, very strict. The sheriff department responsible for one person action, and the laws go into effect that affects everyone because of one man decision. But in the end, those are 8 lives. And those 8 lives have so many family members that's affected. And that's what the law is for, to govern the people, and I remember as a kid growing up, we never wore seatbelts. I come home from prison, it's a law to wear a seatbelt, which was a law then. We just didn't abide by it. But they cracked down on it. We cracked down on it as a county, as a country, and therefore it's automatic to put on your seatbelt. Even the manufacturers of the cars, it'll ding, ding, ding. It'll go on forever and ever and ever until you clamp that Sometimes you clamping in there just because of the dinging and the dinging. So laws are put into place for a reason. And it goes back to accountability, to hold you accountable. Me as myself, as a man that sits here today, I was at one point on the wrong side of the law. And it goes back to mental health. I don't think it was a mental illness, but anger problems, from past trauma and things of, in the music and the certain things that affect your life and your upbringing. It causes you to act out sometime. And it goes to communicating. That's why the name of this podcast is Talk, Love, and Communication, because we don't communicate properly a lot of times as men, and we act out in anger. There's so many things that, but I think it all boils down to relationship, integrity, the trust, all the things that I see that you display, sir. You and your family, me knowing your family. I'm just meeting you, but they speak very highly of you. I overheard you having a conversation with one of your siblings, and I was just smiling inside at, the respect that you men have for each other and the love and the brotherly love that I feel like you can bring to our community, sir. I admire you for that. And that's something that we need to see as a community. That's something we need to see. And, I'm quite sure you will implement that into our Marion County Sheriff's office, correct, sir?
The key thing is developing someone, if I became sheriff, to take my place. That's the first thing that I need to be doing if I became sheriff. Who's out there that's got the qualities, that got the confidence that people's gonna believe in, and that's the person that I need to be mentoring to take my place.
And it's funny you say that, because some people, that's in leadership role, they are threatened by that young whippersnapper. When they see them great signs in that person and everybody gravitate toward them, they kind of threatened by that. But that's part of being a finisher and being a winner, being confident in who you are. Understanding that what's for Milton is for Milton, correct?
That's correct. You wanna grow people around you, because that makes the whole environment better. That makes the organization better. You want to be able to be able to walk away and know while you're sleeping at night, people are doing the right things. They're making the right decisions, and it'd be just like you were there making those decisions. And that's always been my philosophy, from a law enforcement standpoint and from a military standpoint. You got to grow people around you in order to be able to be successful.
And being in the military, you served in Desert Storm, correct?
That's correct, sir.
And it's going to be times where you have to sleep. You have to sleep knowing and trusting that the person that's on watch is watching. And that's so important, and in this situation, being sheriff, you're at the head. You're at the top. Every officer falls under your authority. So you have to have men while you are asleep that's watching.
That's correct.
And you have to have enough confidence to sleep comfortably with your life on the line, so to speak, understanding that your life is in their hands just as well as our community. Because, your officers make you look good, make you the man that you are, make you the chef that you aim to be, correct, sir?
You're correct. I used to work midnights as a trooper, and I would call friends up and tell them, the free world is safe tonight. I'm out here working.
That's right.
That's right. You better believe that the world is this country is free and it's safe tonight because I'm working. And as long as you're getting that, you got what you need.
How has there ever been a situation where someone has showed you an act of kindness that has changed your outlook and your perspective on life that you carry on today?
I had a lot of people that have shown me kindness throughout my development in my life. One of the key people that I feel is my mentor, and that's what I always tell young people. I was a state trooper for years and years. I had commanded troops in battle, from an Army perspective. I thought I had my life together. And I met this gentleman, from the military standpoint. His name was Jamie Marlowe, the smartest guy I ever met, and Native American, born in the Carolinas. And me and him would talk constantly. He had two PhDs, one in nuclear medicine, one in education, and but like I said, very intelligent. But talking to this gentleman over the years, I realized that I needed a mentor. I needed somebody that would tell me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear. And going back to my days of writing, I wasn't the best writer, and he was a great writer, and he would say, "Buzz, you suck at writing." And I would say, "Yes, sir. Are you going to help me write this?" "Yes, I am. Come over to the house." That was our relationship. He told me I needed to improve, and that's what I improved on.
And it's so important to have people to hold you accountable. People that's not afraid to tell you the truth. And and being the man that you are and being in positions that you have held throughout your life, I'm quite sure, you got the, quote unquote, the yes men. You know what I mean? It's you as an authority figure, you can see a yes man a mile away. And it's hard to trust a yes man because they're really not being honest about their feelings, and I think about love. If I love you, I tell you the truth. You can go and see mom right now and mom love you. And you could tell mom all these things you want to tell. You could fool the world, but mom will look at you in your face, say, "Boy," and give it to you from the muscle. You understand what I'm saying?
And that's exactly right.
And that's love. That's love. Your brothers will tell you, "Buzz, that ain't," but that's love. And some people say, "Oh, you hating it, you this," the Bible talks about casting your pearls among swines, but you have to have discernment and understand that individual, and do they have your best interest at hand? And, and that goes hand in hand about you building up people underneath you, people that you can trust, while you out sleeping, they're on watch. When they're sleeping, you're on watch, and having integrity when no one is looking. Correct, sir?
For sure. You mentioned about the family piece, and I always tell folks, you always got to go home to family to get your check off, to get the check it, because you're right, mom, dad, tell you get too big for your britches, boy.
That's right.
You're always gonna be bored of them.
That's right.
And so from that aspect, that's what it's all about. I check my right and left limits. I go home. My right and left limits hadn't changed, then I can go back to wherever I went to, because family is good with it. I'm still acting the same. Yeah. But if I'm acting outside those right and left limits, family gonna come to me and they gonna tell me something going on with you. You need to work on some things. You need to get it right. There you go. Yes, sir.
You had an accident as a trooper.
Yes, sir.
That pretty serious accident on your motorcycle. You want to open up and share with my audience about that, sir?
Had going home one night, actually afternoon, had a trooper that was assassinated a day or two before out on I-95 where he was trying to help someone on the side of the road, and they end up assassinating him on the side of the road. We responded that day before and helped with the scene, And so we knew we had a funeral coming up and we had to do some things, being the motorcycle squad, we had to do some things to get ready for detail. That day I was going home to wash and wax my motorcycle, traveling from Broward County, Fort Lauderdale up to Palm Beach, West Palm on US 27. Had some things to go on with the motorcycle that I had experienced maybe 200 or 300 times before, and been able to do what I need to do to control a motorcycle. That day, I couldn't control it. And I went down, had some head trauma, had some, some other things that were injured, and eventually it was a career-stopping event for me, and it was some challenges, and people would talk to me, and I would tell them, I said, well, my brother, died 3 times on a table with his crash. He lost his leg, and this is where the pain started. It was just above the knee, just below the knee, and his leg kept getting affected where they actually had to keep cutting his leg, and I knew that he was going to be really, really upset about that, because it was just going to be a challenge. My mom's side was, she had heart surgery and she had brain surgery, and she had came through both of those. So when folks start talking to me about my challenges, I kind of put it off. I've already seen the brave people operate when they're challenged, my mom and my brother. And so it's up to me just come to the calling, that I can't feel sorry for myself, can't do anything but get right, get ready, and get myself fixed. And that was because their template of showing me, how they worked on adversity.
And and that's so important to have examples, positive examples and role models, through their trials and tribulations, they were able to strengthen you.
That's correct.
And tell my audience, from that experience, sir, how do you believe going through that, personally, how would that help you be a better chef? I'm quite sure it was some kind of mental setback. I mean, even from a depression standpoint, things of that nature, not being able to be the man that you were for a while, and having to retire from this event, so doing something that you obviously love. How do you think that'll make you a better chef today, sir?
Well, it actually made me more sensitive to the mental health piece that I've already talked about earlier, as being personal. And like I said before, I'm gonna have to take money out my own pocket, being sheriff, to make sure that those particular organizations are supported, and I don't have a problem doing that. You got to be sensitive to that, because a mere crash can change a whole person's family. It could change their interaction with the family. It changes their it could change their interaction with their own dog. The pets that they have. It's a change, and so people have to be sensitive that you do have those changes, and from that you try to just make yourself better and get on with your life.
It's a struggle, and we have to fight. And like you say, there are things that happen in our life that changes us forever. Me myself, I had spinal surgery. It was a time where I couldn't walk. I sat in a wheelchair, and I'm watching other people throw a football, a basketball, and I'm wanting to do the simple things in life. And I'm not the man I used to be. But you take what God give you and you keep moving. You finish.
There you go.
You finish.
There you go.
Fourth quarter, you
Yes,
got
sir.
to finish, man. You know, it make me think about when you was talking about finishing and winning and losing. You think about old Tom Brady. You know, as an athlete, you see this man with his shirt off, look like he's never done a push-up, you know nothing. But, you know, it's the mental part of winning and losing. You know, by us being Florida natives, we all familiar with Tampa Bay and the history of the Buccaneers, and, you know, they was horrible forever. You know, and this man joined the team. One man. And it raised the level of a whole entire city, a whole entire organization. You know, just this one man, the mentality of one man, believing in one man. And that's what my goal is, to wrap our community around Milton Busby Jr. And we can believe in this one man to raise us to great heights here in this community. We can do that. We can wrap ourselves around this man and give him the shot, reward him for the courage that he have to give us an opportunity to choose. You know, so we can come together and believe in this man, that he can elevate us and edify us as a community. You know, these are things that we are striving for, sir. You know, so when we talk about, let's talk about some of the happiest moments of your life.
Happiest moments. Okay. Happiest moments, spending time with my mom and dad.
Amen to that.
You know, just seeing them talk and do their verbal judo with each other while I'm sitting there witnessing it. And that's truthfully the happiest time that I can get, because that's something you can't replace. You can't get that back. All you have is that moment.
That's right.
And so from that's what I would say is probably the happiest time that I have.
You know, it goes back to time, like you say, living in the moment. You know, I'm quite sure being halfway across the world in the desert, you know, it makes you really think. It's kind of like going up in an airplane for the first time. You know, you're up there, but you understand that, you know, this is it. If something, you know what I mean, you understand that if something, you know, happened, it's pretty much this is it. So it puts things into perspective for you. You know, you value your time, you value each moment, you value relationships, you value family. All these things are super duper important. You know, when you've been in certain things and certain situations in life, and even as a state trooper, I could imagine, you know, pulling someone over on a dark road and whatever county, city, back road, wherever else, you know, and you don't know the intentions of these individuals. You know, and I want to make another statement that, you know, we as a community, we look at officers as, it depends on what side of the law you're on. You understand what I'm saying?
I got you.
If I'm on the wrong side of the law, I don't care for the police, because they can correct me. They can hold me accountable. You understand what I'm saying? But that same officer that I disdain or have, you know, don't trust and this, that, and another, if my grandmother need them, call the police. Now that same officer supposed to save my life, my family life. You understand what I'm saying? You can't have it both ways. And, you know, and I think when we bridge the relationship gap, I think, you know, in the trust, you know, and we see the integrity. Now, I believe that you're a little older than me, and I believe that times are changing. You know, the younger people that are joining the force have a different mentality than the ones prior to them. You know, we know the history of this county. You know, you as an Afro-American and myself as an Afro-American, we know the history of this county. And it has not always been in the greatest of light. You know, myself, I remember it wasn't until 1985 that I went to school with a Caucasian person. You know, it was, you know, you're older than me. We walked from Busby Quarters to Howell Elementary to Madison Street. And it was in 1985 when they brought the school buses in and they bused us to Oak Crest. And I remember getting off the bus And you got to think, at the time, we 9, 10 years old. I'm in the 5th grade. And I get off the bus, I take maybe 10, 20 steps, and this 1985. And the kid say to me, to this day, I can still remember his name. I won't say it. And he said to me, "What are y'all ends doing to our school?" It's 1985. Most of the world is, you know what I mean? But here in Marion County, we was a little behind, a little late, but I respect the fact that they did, that they integrated it, and everything is, we have grown as a community, as a county, but I believe that the new officers that you will have a chance to work with, sir, that will be very receptive to the mindset and the skill set and the mentality that you are trying to instill, in the community. So I believe that it's to your advantage at this point in your life. I believe that God does everything for a reason. And at this stage in your life, I believe that you would work out better for our community. You know what I mean? With the goals and the things that you are trying to set forth. Now I'm gonna hit you with some couple tough questions here.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the A.J. Owens case?
I am familiar from a peripheral standpoint. I don't know any internals, but yes,
Right.
I am.
Okay, from the outside looking in, how would you have handled that situation? Differently, or would you have handled it the same, sir?
I feel that the law enforcement community was slow in terms of their response and what they needed to do. It would have been some situational things that I would have looked at in terms of the physical evidence. What was there anything evidence on the door? Was the door being kicked? Was it a hurricane door? Was it possible that, in most apartment complexes, the doors are pretty standard high impact doors.
Right.
And a woman probably won't have the physical strength to break a door. Okay. And so therefore I will look at truthfully, is there a threat? And in my opinion, and like everybody else, everybody's got opinions. My opinion, I would have been questioned that truthfully was not a threat there of life. And so therefore, my response would have been a lot quicker in terms of, apprehending or arresting the suspect.
And and that's so important, and your background, being in the military, being a trooper, walking up to a car, assessing the situation very quickly. All of these things come natural to you because you're 61 years old, correct?
62.
62?
Yes,
You're getting
sir.
old, huh?
That's right.
62 years old, and 32 years of your life, you was in military law enforcement.
Yes,
some form of authority figure, some form of helping the community. Okay. So most of your life, so these things will come natural to you. I had a friend of mine, that he said his mom used to always say, "Son, common sense ain't all that common." And that being said, what's common sense to you may not be common sense to someone else. And it's not that all the time someone have hidden motives and hidden agendas. Some people shy away as a personality type. They shy away from the hard things. They ponder on it a little long because they don't want to make the wrong decision. They're not as confident, not sure, not self-assertive. You know what I mean? And in the community, we need positive aggressiveness. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
We need swift actions. Things that, like we was talking about the young man that, that was under the influence and the 8 people with the crash, just the other day. If steps would have been taken prior, maybe these 8 people would be alive right now.
yes, sir.
As far as, and as a community, it's a difference in telling and snitching. You know,
Right.
telling is it's a hard, you know, it's a hard it's a hard line there with that, with, you know, as a community, you know, we say telling and snitching, you know, but if I have no knowledge of it, if you get in my car and I don't know you have this whatever you have on you and the police pull us over and they say whose is it's not mine, it's yours, and you just gonna let me go, that's yours. I'm not telling on you. I'm not snitching on you. I'm telling you that's yours.
Right.
I'm holding you accountable. But if we go and commit a crime together and we both agree to do this and they catch me and not you, and I tell on you, that's snitching. You understand what I'm saying?
Got you.
So
I got your logic.
you know, so like when you made, you know, the statement earlier about people in the community that may know, you know, hey, he always drive like this, or, you know, anything that we see, you know, it's not, you know, the relationship with the police department, and it's about what's right. Now, if that drunk driver injures someone in your family, now I want you to say what you saw. I want you to say what you saw. But when it's your family, I ain't got nothing to do with it. And that's something that we have to check ourselves as a community
For sure.
on, you
For
know.
sure.
And I think, you know, with the AJ on, that was a touchy situation. A lot of people, you know, sometimes we as a people, we'll play the race card sometimes. And sometimes we as a community, we as Afro-Americans, sometimes we just as racist as the other groups and don't realize it, because if I hurt him and he'll hurt me, what makes me any different than him? You understand what I'm saying? So we have to look at that and be, you know, look in the mirror. And the hardest thing in the world is to look in the mirror. That's why you say no matter how far you traveled away, what part of the world you went to, you always made your way back to Ocala, Florida, and looked at mom, dad, and auntie and grandmother in the face. Because no matter who Mr. Milton Busby was in the military, no matter what rank you was as a state trooper, you know when you need it from the muscle, when you need that real reality check, you go sit down in this little old house over here off of 19. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
And you go get that reality check, because you know it's love. They don't mean no harm by it. You may not want to hear it, but when you riding back to your big house in your big city, you may think, you know what, mama was right. You know, I do need to look at that. The hardest thing is to look at the man in the mirror. What did Michael Jackson told us that, huh? who you was a Michael Jackson fan or a Prince fan?
I'm more of a jazz fan.
Jazz.
Yeah. I tend to like jazz.
Okay.
And it don't make any difference.
Don't make no
I
difference.
tend, well, you know, country and western's pretty good too.
Yeah.
You know, just don't shoot the dog or kick nobody. You'll
And them
be
some,
all right.
them some mean stories they have in them songs, man. If you listen to them some mean stories, ain't they? Yeah.
But
you know.
I tend to listen to everything.
How would you like to be remembered, sir?
I would like to be remembered as making a difference. Simple, you know, man that made a difference, and that's all I can do. You know, I want to influence people in the right manner. I can remember young warriors, you know, in the military. Matter of fact, one is a 2-star general now that we work together in the military, and you know, I could pick the phone up and call him right now. Mm-hmm. And you know, he's responsible for hundreds of thousands of soldiers. But the fact, going back to what you're saying, is about relationships and you know, and treating people right in the end is what you need to do. I had this one sergeant when I was in the desert. He got in a fight with his squad leader. He was E5. He got in a fight with his E6, mm-hmm. and I did the investigation, which probably shouldn't have been that way, but we were in combat. We were in the middle of the desert. Mm-hmm. So I looked at the situation rather than having one of the lieutenants do the investigation and coming back. I did it myself to facilitate the process. figured that the E5, the young sergeant, the younger, rank sergeant was incorrect in terms of his behavior. So I called him in. I said, "Hey, Sergeant X, I'm gonna give you Article 15 for you getting in a fight." And he was an old special forces guy from Vietnam. He said, "I'm not gonna take no freaking," which he said some other things. Article 15, which was a non-judicial punishment. I take money out, out your pay. And so I told him, I said, "Sergeant X, get your A out my office and come back tomorrow and talk to me." And so he came back the next day and he kind of chuckled. "Sir, I'm gonna take that Article 15." and that after the next day, and I said, "Okay, let's go get a Coke." Yeah. That was it. Yeah. And that's about life. And I learned that, and that probably pretty much from my mom. Don't belay in it. Just do it. It ain't personal, and move on.
And sometimes, we fall short where if I've been knowing you for 15 years, we got a great relationship, and we have a disagreement tomorrow, and I judge you off of that one moment, rather than the 15 years, and sometimes, and that's where we kind of are in society, but we have to look back over the 15 years and say, you know what, and look in the mirror, what, the man that I know, and just have discernment and say, well, you know what, well, maybe, even if you're wrong now.
Yeah.
And say, well, you know what, I need to check on my friend because that's not really Busby.
Yeah.
I need to see what's, maybe something really going on. So, rather than me holding a grudge and being angry, and sometimes everybody have, different level of, some people are a little more humble or some people a little more proactive with apologizing. It's harder for some than others. But if he's your friend, being your friend is choosing to love you through your right good and your bad. Your faults and your unfaults. I mean, it's a choice. For sure. If you're my friend, so what? You like mayonnaise on your sandwich, and I always, they always put it on mine when we go out to eat together. You know what I mean? So what? It doesn't matter. The point is, I choose to love you no matter what. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So myself being a ex-inmate, a lot of times I find myself the mediator between guys in prison and their families. Their families not knowing how to sign up with JPEG, how to get on the visitation form. There's a lot of things that they don't know. How to send money. How do I send money? Some people not tech savvy, and bridging that gap. And so you as the sheriff, okay, so let's say you're the sheriff. As far as inside the jail, like for example, Marion County doesn't have any televisions inside the jail. And it's been like that for, 20, 30 years. What's the purpose to that? Because the inmates have not been convicted of a crime yet. They have been arrested. So what do you think the meaning, what do you think the purpose behind no television inside the county jail?
I don't know. I would have to do some research on that and come back and talk to you about that. I would look at other jails, the way they operate here in the state of Florida. And you got some jails that operate pretty proficiently and some that don't operate it so efficiently. What the results are, what is the repeated the numbers on people being arrested and rearrested. It's some things that's got to be looked at from a global perspective in order to, at the end of the day, save taxpayers' dollars. Now, having a TV or not having a TV, from a taxpayer standpoint, I don't see. I'm not sure what would be the reasoning for that.
But see, some things, it's not the dollar. But I understand, I'm quite sure being a sheriff, it's a lot of overhead. It's a lot of things. And there's a budget for everything. But from a humanity standpoint, if I get arrested, you got problem because you arrest me or your staff arrest me. I'm in the county jail. I got to sit a month. You know what, sir? We made a mistake. You know, we found the real guy, whatever the situation. It's like the humanity side. You know what I'm saying? We still have, the person still have family. They want to see the news. They want to see, they want to see. I mean, it's you're not convicted yet. Even when you go to prison, you have television. And, and it's the mind, sir. It's like we're talking about the mental health part. Mm-hmm. It's things to keep you occupied, to keep your mind off of these crazy things. And sometimes men have a tendency to, men get together, we tell stories. So you're either going to pick up your Bible or you're going to sit up and tell stories. And a lot of the stories ain't positive. So we just feeding each other negativity when we can be, in good. I'm quite sure you can still control the channels, maybe what's being watched and everything. It's just for myself. When I was in there, I stayed 4 years in the county jail, 4 complete years.
Wow.
In the county jail. I'm watching murder suspects go to prison before me. But I think my purpose and my cause was bigger than my situation. I think it was for me to be the man I am today. God had to sit me still long enough to make it pump through my veins. It just, the man I am today, I owe a lot to those 4 years in the county jail because my foundation was built. And
I'm thinking about what you're saying and apologize not to have a up or down on that, but what I can go back to mm-hmm. is some things I learned early on in life, and it was when I played football at Florida, and one of the things that we had was the rehab squad. And what we would do, we would have quarters that we would practice, and the coach would tell you what you're doing for quarters. So you would do tackling for a quarter, and the quarters, the length of time is based on what the coach wanted to identify length of time. So you can have a long quarter, or you can have short quarters and have many quarters. Mm-hmm. But point I make is that for the rehab squad, you would be working out, that whole time doing push-ups, doing sit-ups, doing the bike ride, doing all these things. And nobody wanted to go to the rehab squad. We would rather practice hurt than go and have to do that rehab because it was tougher than practice. And so that's the way I see things and see life. It's not supposed to be easy, but you still got to be fair in terms of what you're doing. You got to be fair in terms of why you're doing it. And for me to be smart and give you an answer, I just don't have an answer.
And the truth is, sir, the truth is, the bottom line is, you don't want to go to that Marion County jail.
That's what it comes down
to. Because
that's what it comes down to.
You know that, boy, you go to that Marion County jail. And when I was there, wasn't no canteen.
Well, what I mean. And you make a good point. And I had an interview with a lady, and I think I may have mentioned it. All of us is one step from being put in jail, mm-hmm. and all we got to do is change our insurance company, and the insurance company drops you, and the other company don't notify the state of Florida that they pick you up. And you drive around with your license suspended. Now, back in the day, that was automatic trip to jail. Suspended license, you automatically went. Right. Now the law is different, but I'm just using it the way it was in the old days,
yes, sir.
Not the way it is now. Mm-hmm. And so in the old days, they stop you, your license suspended, you go to jail.
Bottom line.
And so here you are, the innocent of situation, not knowing what was happening, and you end up in that facility, and you see all those things that you just talked about. You see the issue with if it is an issue with food, issue with care, issue with all these other things. You're going to see those and experience those, and all you did was just drive your car.
Right.
So that's my point.
And you know, for me, I'm a person that reality. You know, I'm real as real could be. Like I say, I was born and raised in Busby Quarters. You know, the old quarters, charcoal plant,
I got you.
the lumber stacks. You understand what I'm saying? And right here in Marion County, my whole life pretty much, you know, and I don't blame nobody for my incarceration but myself, because I have looked in the mirror at the time. You know, some people can't look in the mirror, so it's everyone's fault but themselves. And it's some positivity to that. You know what I mean? Like, not to have those things. And it will cause you to pick up that Bible, certain things or whatever.
For sure.
But I've also seen some people that's not as strong as me mentally. I've seen some crazy things, you know what I mean? And no one could understand it until they're there. You know, and as I sit across from this table from you, I believe that, you know, once you are elected and you go in the insides and you see the eternal operation, I think that the man that you are, the family man, the relationship you have, the bond you have with your brothers, I believe that changes will come. You know, and even amongst the staff, the way you treat them, you know, because like you say, you switch insurance and you're in there, you haven't done anything wrong. You're upstanding citizen or whatever. Even if you spend a week in there, you know, just long enough for you to lose your job. You know how many people live check to check? You know, and these are things that I think having relationships with people, because a lot of times the discretion of that officer still determines, at that stop, he has a lot of power. It's a lot of split decisions are made. And I think a man of your caliber being placed in the position of sheriff, you will instill that in your staff. You would instill that in your officers. And it would translate to the community. So I believe that I have a very strong spirit of discernment. I believe you are a man of integrity. I know and I understand your strong family roots. And I believe that you will be a great sheriff. But what I want you to do is tell my audience why you believe that we should vote for Milton Busby Jr.
Milton Busby Jr. wanted to make a difference. If folks believe that, you know, they like things the way they are, then they need to vote the way they need to vote. But if they want to change, they want a progressive sheriff organization, an organization that would grow, that will be intertwined with the community, no matter what background, where you're at, where you're from east, west, north, south, you know, I'm going to be there for it. You're going to look at I'm going to look at transparency, and I won't be hard to find. If people need to get a hold of me, they'll be able to get a hold of me, and I'm going to respond to them. But I go ahead and warn for folks. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And with that, you know, I leave it, you know, for what it's worth.
I tell you what, sir, this is the part of the episode. We're going to play a game called Fill in the Blank. I'm going to ask you some questions, and you answer quickly, precisely. You fill in the blank.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. I've always wanted to
be a state trooper.
I love when someone
entertained, love what they're doing, when they're pleasant, when they're nice, when they're honest.
If I had to do it all over again, I would.
I would probably want to go back to my sons and be more part of their life.
If I could have dinner with anyone in the world, it would be.
That's a hard question. If If I could have dinner with anyone else in the world. If I want to have dinner with you, I'm going to have dinner with you. I don't have an answer for you on that one.
If I had to star in a movie beside any actress, it would be
any actress. Harley Berry.
Ooh, you're gonna have to catch it before I do.
John Wayne would be on the other one. So Harley Berry, Milton Busby, John Wayne.
Yes,
that's got to be a great movie.
Yes, sir. I wonder if they're gonna be in color, black and white with y'all. John Wayne.
It'll be quality. It'll be quality movie.
My favorite holiday is
Christmas, Thanksgiving, Memorial Day.
It aggravates me when someone
don't tell the truth.
The best quality someone can have is
honesty.
If I was God, the first thing I would change is
make this a perfect world.
My childhood crush was.
I'm 62 years old. Childhood crush. Good gracious, man. Oh, man. Childhood crush. I'm married now. My wife is my childhood crush.
Smart man. If you could travel anywhere in the world, it would be
right here in Florida.
My favorite movie is
Dusk to Dawn. I think that was an old World War II movie or something like that. Dusk to Dawn.
If I could go back to any age, it would be
17.
When I meet someone, the first thing I notice is
their posture, the way they speak, posture and speak.
The most important lesson I learned from my parents:
be true to yourself. Be yourself.
Do you have a favorite sibling?
All my siblings are favorites.
Smart man. When I was growing up as a little boy, my favorite cartoon was
Batman.
Marianne or Ginger?
Ginger was pretty.
Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson?
Ali.
LeBron or Jordan?
Jordan.
Larry Bird or Karl Malone?
Larry Bird.
Off of Chips Patrol, Punch or John?
Punch.
Fred Sanford or Bill Cosby?
Fred Sanford.
Bugs Bunny or Pink Panther?
Bugs Bunny.
Dan Marino or John Elway?
Dan Marino.
Emmett Smith or Barry Sanders?
Emmett Smith. And I played ball with Emmett Smith. So that was, I'm sorry. It was John L. Williams. Emmett came in after me at Florida. It was John L. Williams. But stand correct. Still Emmett Smith.
Still Emmett Smith.
Still Emmett Smith.
Okay, over Barry Sanders?
Yeah, I still have to go with Emmett Smith. He played at Florida.
Jerry Rice. So you blinded by the Gator?
I'm blind. My brother gonna talk about me, But yeah, he's a Gator.
So if you had a son right now playing high school football, he got a chance to go to Florida State and the Gators. Where you gonna send him? If he asks you your opinion.
I would say the Gators. He'd be closer. Now Florida State may have a better football team this year, but I would have to say the Gators.
Okay, Mr. Busby, this is the last segment of the show. It's called AMA, where you, Mr. Milton Busby Jr., get to ask me, William Robinson, anything.
William, if you were sheriff for a day, what would you do to fix things around here?
Well, I would take the information that I've learned from you throughout this podcast, sir. I would definitely, I don't know if it's, the vice president, you got the president and the vice president. Is there a main person underneath the sheriff?
Yeah, you have, I'm assuming the undersheriff.
Well, I definitely would make you the undersheriff. Because I believe that a lot of times when you're an authority, you're nothing without your team. You go to a doctor's office, the nurse practitioner is always the most knowledgeable person. The doctor just do what the nurse practitioner says. So to sum that up, I would come to you for some advice. And but one of the main things I would tackle is communication. I believe that communication is the key to all relationships, circumstances, situations. Communication, relationship. I would find a way to mend. I would, like you say, sir. That's so very important. You say come together as a community, and you would ask the community, what do you guys see? Because how can you serve me and protect me if you don't know my problems and my issues? And I think that's so important, sir, to have town meetings and gatherings and things of that nature. And even, I don't know if it's in the budget, to even just have a community where you just get together at one of the local parks and just have Officer Community Day. Everyone loves food. Just bring the food together. You go get that barbecue grill going. They're going to come and let them interact. Have softball teams where it's, basketball games and officers versus community, this side and the northwest side, the northeast side, things, just all kind of ideas, to bring people together, love the right way, show the agape kind of love, the love of God that don't see color, don't see nothing but truth and integrity. That's what I would do, sir.
I ended on that.
Maybe. AMA, any questions you want to ask? Anything? That's it. Okay, so, sir, what I want you to do now is look over my shoulder into this camera here, sir, and you're going to give any last words to my audience and tell, give them your information, your contact information, your district, show them your card, show them any campaign slogans, anything you want to promote. Direct into that camera there, sir, and you give any last message to my audience, sir.
The message that I want to give is to tell everyone that's been supporting me, thank you again. First my family, classmates, friends, the churches. I had to get my my petitions signed in order to get qualified to run for sheriff. I had to get 2,711 petitions completed. And with the support of, like I said, family, friends, churches, classmates, I was able to do that. One of the things I talked about was having an end game. And so, I had to make sure I had the $12,000 in hand if I didn't make it with petitions. So now that I don't have to spend $12,000 to get on the ballot, I can use that money to go out and buy some new signs. All that advice that everybody's been giving me, I've been listening, but now I can go ahead and start and executing those things. So be looking for the new signs and new things that I got coming for the campaign.
Election day, August.
Oh, forgot to mention the election day for me will be mid-August, and that will be the primary. And as I stated before, running as a Republican, the only way you'll be able to see me on the ballot is if you're a Republican.
Sir, would you please speak to my audience about the numbers, the difference in how many Democrats in this county versus the Republicans, and how that played a big part in you running for Republican?
Well, I've been a Republican since 2008, and internally that was fiscal responsibility. But at the end of the day, me and my mentor, we would talk about elections, throughout the years before he passed, and we would talk about people being the best qualified for the position. And at the end of the day, I look at who's best qualified, not so much as party. Some people may have a problem with that. That's just the way it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is your host, William Robinson, coming at you today from the studios of TLC. We want to thank our special guest, Mr. Milton Busby Jr., for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you guys to get out to that election, the primary in mid-August, and vote Milton Busby Jr. for sheriff. We're going to support this young man. We're going to uplift him and edify him in our community. You will see him in the months coming out promoting, pushing his candidacy. And that's right, you can donate to this channel at Talk Love Communication, TLC Robinson. You can donate at Cash App, Anybody Love You, PayPal, Robinson74William at gmail.com, Zelle 352-209-3306. And remember, we only got one life to live, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a whole lot easier with love and communication.